Hey everybody, welcome to Backyard Blue. Just two brothers talking sports and, well, whatever else comes our way. I am brother number one by birth order anyway. That's me, Blake Miller. My students call me Mr. Miller. My mama calls me Moose for some reason. We still hadn't figured that out. Brother number two on the other side of the screen, that's my brother from the same mother, Hunter Borland. Hunter, the hunt daddy, the head hunter. My daughter calls him Hump. Hump, what's happening?
Not a whole lot. Just we're getting busy, so a little later on the we're doing good every week, like Monday or Tuesday, we're putting one out. But I guess life is busy and kids, and Monday was Martin Luther King Day, so uh, we took a little break. But glad to be back on and talk all the sports we got going on. Man, there's so much to watch and talk about.
I think the last one we recorded, I think Harden got traded the next day or 2 days after, something like that, and that feels like it was 6 months ago.
I
Like,
know I was kind of looking at what we're gonna talk about and all that. And it's like, well, Harden was traded last week. We didn't really talk about it, so we'll touch on that a little bit. I mean, we're already the championship weekend, so we'll probably
yeah,
talk about more of that than we did about divisional weekend, even though it was some really good football played. I know
really
you were
good
a little
football,
nervous during some of that, but and I listened to my first game on the radio, and I have no idea how long, but
man.
no, it's just so much going on, and I feel like you don't talk about something maybe every 3 or 4 days. It's like old news.
I mean, really, if you had an everyday show, you'd still have stuff you didn't talk about. Old
Oh,
stuff. There's
absolutely.
always something happening. It's a 24/7 thing where the news cycle where you have something happens 20 minutes ago. It's old.
Especially right now. I mean, with NFL, NHL just kicked off, which I'm a Blues fan, just moved to St. Louis. Go Blues. I hadn't watched the game, or I may have watched like 2 minutes of one game, but diehard Blues fan now.
Die hard.
There's just a lot going on, a lot of sports, but it's a good time. Better than no sports.
We'll try to get back on a normal schedule, doing it, Monday or Tuesday of every week, at least while football's going on, especially
Yeah.
Tuesday, Monday. One of those days sounds pretty good. This is one of those weeks where it feels like we have a short week at school, but it always feels like you're trying to cram 5 days of stuff into 4 days. It's always kind of the short week is nice, but it's also like it's
Plus
a
announcing
panic a little bit.
basketball. You're
Of
announcing
course,
basketball, so you
dude,
had
it's
that
so
on
much
top of
fun.
it.
I love doing that.
Hey, real quick, right before we got on here, I'm pumped up. So I'm a part of the
What's that?
church choir, Eric Church. I get exclusive emails and stuff from him. 3 albums coming out in April, I believe.
Wow.
He's put that he went to 28 days in the mountains in North Carolina and recorded, I think, like almost 24, 30 songs. I forget the exact number. I mean, I just looked at it right before we got on, so I am pumped up about that.
That's pretty cool for you. I know you're a big Eric Church fan. You mentioned announcing those middle school games. That was my last one on Tuesday. I always miss that. Like I'm always thankful to not have the time commitment, but I always miss it when it's gone. It's so much fun, and I think it makes the players feel pretty cool. One of the kids on the team told me that after he scored his first bucket, that he went home and wanted to listen to how I said his name on the things that on the live stream. So that made it all worth it. It's so much fun doing that. I try to create the like NBA style experience in a gym of
You need
35
to get on
people.
the NBA street ball and one, like be out there announcing. But you say that, and me and you were talking about this. I don't know. It was probably a couple months ago. I mean, when I played AAU with or the Bartlett Tigers, I think I was in sixth grade or something like that. I can never remember the name of the gym, but they had that announcer, and every time I went to that gym, I'd hit like 5 or 6 threes in a game. But I just remember that guy going crazy every time I'd hit a three. He would just like scream like my number, and I don't know if he called my name or whatever, but you do remember those little things as a kid.
Yeah, you feel like you're in the Hall of Fame when it happens.
Yeah,
Let's go get
absolutely.
let's go ahead and get into the NFL stuff. Quick divisional weekend thoughts. Anything you want to throw out? I wanted to start with the Chiefs. I know you wanted to say something, about them, being nervous and stuff, but they were rolling until Mahomes went out. That game, that could have been a 20 plus point differential there. I think they would have finally covered, the first time since like 1997. Uh, they would have finally covered, you know,
They were rolling. I will say Cleveland moved the ball the first two possessions because I was listening on the radio, so there's only so much you can get out of it. You're not watching the game, but and I'll be quick about this. But they removed the ball the first two possessions. They shot themselves in the foot. They got down like the 30-yard line, penalties, dumb play calls. Where if they could have capitalized, you've got to score touchdowns. And if they could have, even on field goals, but they came away with 3 points in those first two possessions where they got inside the 30-yard line. And then the play at the end of the half, if they score there, this is before Mahomes went out. If they score
Yep.
there, they get the ball to start the first half, 17-10, or I think it was 17-3 going in the half, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's a totally different game if they score there. And then, Mahomes, they throw the
16-3,
interception
I
to
think it
start.
was. Something like
So,
that.
I don't like that rule. The rule is the rule. It doesn't matter.
I don't like it
Uh,
either.
but that game could have been totally different if that touchdown happens at the end of the half. And that's with Mahomes in, and they did move the ball on them. So, and that's not a great offense, but I like Baker Mayfield, I guess, as I listen to him on the radio. But the more I pay attention to him, he seems better than I originally thought he was.
He had a good season. I think that scheme is good for him. Kirk Cousins worked well in that scheme as well. If you get the run going, then he can rely on his play action passing. And I think it takes a little bit off of him. Also, oddly, I think having Odell out actually helped him. Like you said with Dak Prescott a few years ago, not having Des Bryant, not having somebody he felt like he had to force feed, makes things a little easier for the
Yeah.
quarterback.
Well, and you mentioned something about Odell a couple years ago, maybe, or last year, that he cuts off routes and kind of runs his own stuff and not
Yep.
really in the scheme of. And the same thing, I think Eli may have hinted at that at some point, or somebody with the Giants after he left. And you can kind of see that when you watch them, that there's no, they're not on the same page a lot of times.
Seems like a dude who would work well with a scrambler, like
Yeah.
like Mahomes, but Mayfield's not really a true scrambler, and Manning definitely wasn't. He's more the statue type. I don't think he's scrambling his eggs.
Yeah.
So the Bills, the Chiefs' opponent for this week, their defense looked more solid than I think people expected. I'm not a big fan of Baltimore's offense, but the defense looked solid. Any comments that you had for the Bills?
No, not really. I was shocked that the Ravens didn't really score any points and couldn't get anything going. But that defense is fast, and I think if they can play downhill, they're a good defense. But I don't know. They still don't really get much pressure on quarterbacks,
Nope.
and I think that's going to be. I think it's going to be a high scoring game this weekend. I don't know. It just if they can't get pressure, I don't know what they're going to do with Kansas City.
Yeah, I think you might hear some background noise here. That's okay.
All good.
We might have an
Mine
appearance.
mine was in last week. Yours in this week.
Yeah, family appearance. I think they. I guess they didn't
We don't
get
have
the
to pay
text
them
that I was
appearance fee, do we?
recording. It's okay. No,
We don't have to pay
yeah.
appearance fees for them, do we?
No, well, I think our anchor stream has only made us like 34 cents, so we'll give them a penny here and there.
Give them a penny.
No, it's all right.
Uh,
It's all
but what
good.
about you? How do you feel about the Bills? Are you? I think it's a game. I think it's gonna be a really good game.
It'll be a good game, but I think if the Chiefs are whole, then it's not. I mean, it'll be one that they keep it close because they keep it close. But I think the Bills will still do something at some point to, you know, if you make a mistake, it's just like I remember the Chiefs played the Colts several years ago. We had Trent Green and Priest Holmes and Tony Gonzalez, and I feel like you punted once in the game, and that was it. Because I don't know. I mean, the Chiefs are going to have to shoot themselves in the foot in order to punt against this team, in order to not score every time they have the ball against this team with Mahomes healthy. If they fail, it's on them. I don't think that their best can be beaten by anybody else's best. It's just whether or not they play their best. That's all that matters.
And
Moving
I
on
don't know
to
if that
the
was yeah. Go ahead. Go ahead.
I was gonna say moving on to the Packers and Rams. That one felt sloppy to me, but Green Bay is really good. Any thought you have on that game?
It was kind of boring. I think Green Bay dominated them. Aaron Donald wasn't full strength, so that defense was not. He's
Yep.
so much of the biggest part of that defense. If he's not fully healthy, I think he played 54% of the snaps or something. It's just they're not the same.
Yep.
And Aaron Rodgers is operating at a different level this year. And if you can't score some points, they weren't going to stay in that game. It was just kind of
Yep.
blah.
Yeah. I didn't have a whole lot of interest in it. It didn't quite keep my attention. Now Tampa Bay, the second half, they made New Orleans look like a bad football team.
Yeah, you probably watched more of that than I did. We got home from your house and we were playing cops and robbers and running around the house. So I was trying to catch part of the game while the kids were hiding, being the robbers. And so I would say, "Hey, I'm gonna set the alarm for 3 minutes this time instead of one, so I could watch a
Yeah.
little bit of the game." But I
Yeah.
did go back and look at the stats and highlights and try to get a little recap. But uh, Drew Brees is just he can't throw the ball anymore. Like Jameis Winston came in and threw a touchdown, and that's the only offense they really had.
Yeah. In my notes, I wrote that Drew Brees equals burnt toast, and he's
I do
cooked.
hate I do hate it for him because his career is so awesome that
Yeah.
that's what everybody's talking about now
Yep.
is how he's done. And I hope we'll go back in 2 years and be like, oh my God, he was one of the best quarterbacks of all time. He's got to be in the top 10, maybe top five. Just how he played the game, not being the biggest, the fastest, the most gifted quarterback, but just the dedication to it and what he became and what he made of himself is he's the king in New Orleans and
Oh,
that
no doubt.
football team that has been trash for their entire history.
Tyrann Mathieu posted something on Twitter right after the game and talked about, he's from Louisiana and mentioned how much Drew Brees meant to him as a kid and how he was like, a godlike figure, a hero to so many kids down there.
Mm-hmm.
Just, being kind of what saved people from Katrina, not save them,
Yeah,
but give them something
gave
to hope
hope,
for
gave a light.
after Katrina. That Steve Gleason punt being blocked against the Falcons in the end zone remains an iconic moment, and it's just a
Oh yeah,
regular season game, but it was their first game back after Katrina. Drew Brees is a hero in that city, and I hated to see him go out like that, but it kind of reminds me of how Peyton Manning went out too.
yeah.
He was a noodle arm his last couple of years, his last
And
year
the only difference
especially.
was he won the Super Bowl and Breeze didn't, so he doesn't get hated on as much.
But I think people D'Angelo Williams would hate on him and say Peyton couldn't play dead in a Western that last game,
Oh
that
yeah,
last season, and it's accurate. I think everybody knows how bad he actually was, but the defense was able to carry him to the Super Bowl. People still talked about it for sure, uh, but anyway, he got to go out on top. Which, as a Chiefs fan, I'm glad that Breeze doesn't get to do that because I hope one team ends the season on top, not them. So, going in from talking about the Bucks and Packers games, divisional round, what are you looking ahead for in this conference championship game between Tampa Bay and the Packers?
As Pat McAfee would say, the Tampa Bay Gronkaneers
Yeah,
against the Packers. So I'm going to say this, and I'm not doing the guy where it's Rodgers versus Brady because Brady's not playing defense when Rodgers is out there and vice versa.
yeah,
But these are by far the two best quarterbacks of my lifetime. And they're playing against each other. I feel like Rodgers, and I know right now Mahomes is on the way to this, but he's the best thrower I've ever seen. And Brady's probably the best just all around quarterback, the way he dissects a game, being a winner. And so we always wanted, I think, the Rodgers versus Brady in the Super Bowl and for the past 10, 12 years, and we never got it. So it's cool that they're going to be playing in the NFC Championship game against each other to go to the Super Bowl. And I don't think this is like a Mayweather Pacquiao thing where they're both too old and it happened way past their prime because I think they're both still operating at a level like Rodgers is one of the two best quarterbacks in the league this year, and Brady's
yeah.
still in that top 5 to 7 range. So I'm super excited about watching this game. I don't know, just two of the best of all time going against each other. Their teams are both good. Their offenses are good. And I don't think it's going to be anything like the regular season game where the Buccaneers killed them. Although the Buccaneers defense does look to be playing a lot better right now, I think it's going to be a really entertaining game.
I'm not judging the Buccaneers' pass defense based on last week's game. I do
No, no,
think
no, no, no.
that pass defense can be had. I think Green Bay definitely has an advantage in this game based on that.
Mm-hmm.
But man, it's hard to bet against Tom Brady. I made that mistake this past weekend and took the Saints -2.5, and I just thought the whole game, why did I bet against Tom Brady? Why did I bet
Yeah.
against Tom Brady? So saying that Tom Brady's going to lose seems like a fool's errand. I don't have a pick for this game. I think it's going to be really exciting. I will not bet on it on the spread or the money line. I am looking forward to watching it for sure. It's a pretty
I would
cool
be
quarterback
interested.
matchup.
I'd be interested in the over under as we get closer to the game time. It's supposed to be really cold, but there's a chance of some snow coming through. I don't know when the snow's going to hit, but if that is the case, then maybe where you think this is going to be a really high scoring game, it could be a little bit lower than expected. But I think this is probably my favorite game of the weekend. And it's just because of those two guys.
You know, believe it or not, snow does actually not have much of an effect on point totals. It's wind, so if it's windy, then
Yeah.
maybe the under is advisable. If you see wind in the forecast, like get on that before it comes out. But if it's just snow and people start taking the under, then the over is in play for
Yeah.
sure. I'm looking forward to that game though. It's really cool. I know we've always seen Brady and Manning and been kind of spoiled by that rivalry, and that was the best quarterback matchup going for a long time. I think you kind of dreamed about seeing these in the NFC, the Brady and Breeze matchups, and Brady and Rodgers, and it almost seemed like it was happening too late because all of them are in the latter stages of their career. But seeing Brady operate at this level at age 7,000, however old he is,
It's
well,
impressive. I don't know
it's
how he does it.
it's really impressive. And Rodgers too. Like I think the best draft pick of 2020 was Jordan Love because it pissed off Aaron Rodgers enough that he that he reverted back to his old self. He's been phenomenal this season. I'm really excited about that one, but I am also really excited about this Bills and Chiefs games, as long as Patrick Lavon Mahomes is healthy. You have any thoughts on this game before I share mine?
So
I might have to
I'll
cut you off at some point based on these notes.
no, I'll be quick. Going the other way from what I just talked about, we got two, I think the two best young quarterbacks in the league right now. So you got the old heads, on one side and the young bucks on the other. And I know you love to call Mahomes the GOAT. I don't think he is already. I think you got to
No,
play more than 3 years than to be the GOAT. But I know you do that just to piss people off on Twitter. Uh, he is insane, but
it works.
Josh Allen, he's my favorite player to watch in the NFL. And I'm gonna make this comparison. People will probably laugh. You'll probably laugh. But people say Mahomes is changing the game like Steph did in the NBA, just the way he plays the quarterback position. Well, I think if you're gonna do the comparison, and he's not this level of like greatness, but Josh Allen reminds me of like LeBron James on the NBA side. This dude has all the physical attributes to be the best of all time. And if he can kind of figure out some finesse game and throwing the ball short and reading defenses, the way he plays the game is like it's just so easy. It looks easy for him. And like LeBron developed a 3-point shot over time and just rounded out his game. I'll be interested to see what Josh Allen does going forward because I think him and Mahomes could be the top two. It kind of be like Manning and Brady. They're in the same conference. Maybe we got a new one of those for the next 10, 15 years where it kind of becomes a rivalry, which if it does, I'm pumped for because those two are a lot of fun to watch.
And not only are the quarterbacks fun to watch, but the fan bases are fun to get behind. I feel like you have two of the most energetic, loyal fan bases with the Chiefs and the Bills. Like knowing how long those teams, and I could say I experienced it for quite some time with the Chiefs, knowing like they hadn't won a playoff game since the early '90s, up until a few years ago with Alex Smith, and thinking that we were going to have a quarterback like Patrick Mahomes on our team seemed insane. And I know the Bills kind of feel the same way. They've been, going through the Tyrod Taylors and J.P. Lossmans and Trent Edwards of the world to get to the point where they've got this guy in Josh Allen who is, I mean, he's a star. I'm not going to hate on him at all. He reminds me of what Mahomes was 2 years ago. Just a little careless, but can make plays to beat you in an instant. I think the Chiefs are favored in this game for a reason. I think they will win this game as long as they don't shoot themselves in the foot. I think they are the better team. I think the better team any time they take the field right now. And if they lose, it's due to their own fault, not somebody else's. You mentioned earlier about Buffalo not being awesome at getting pressure on the quarterback, and I think that's always been the key to beating any quarterback, but especially against Patrick Mahomes. What makes him struggle is a good rush, especially when, like you've said, when you can bring four, get him off balance. It can really cause him to, just struggle a little bit and not
He
be
kind of gets those happy
his
feet
full
we used to
self.
talk about
Yeah,
with Peyton Manning, where he just kind of he tries to do too much sometimes.
exactly. I don't think Buffalo is good enough to get consistent pressure on him, and that's going to lead to, I think, him picking the secondary apart. And they've got good safeties, and they got a great corner in White. Hyde and Poyer are very good safeties. Milano's a really good linebacker in coverage, but they can't handle Travis Kelce. There's nobody out there that can handle him. I
The only thing I like about the Bills is that secondary with Poyer and I'm going blank on the other guy's name, but
Hyde, Micah Hyde.
yeah, they do have a really good secondary, safety and free safety. So I mean, not that they're gonna be able to stop Kelsey, but that's probably the two best. The duo of those two is probably the best in the league at safety. Not that either one of them is the best, but they play really well together. Maybe that can help them out. I don't know.
It's really interesting when you think about both of these conference championship matches. I mean, both these conference championship games in the regular season when they met, they were both blowouts. And
Yeah,
Tampa destroyed Green Bay, and Kansas City absolutely hammered Buffalo in Buffalo. So I wouldn't say I expect the same outcome. I expect closer games.
yeah,
I'm surprised that Tampa. Last I looked, they were 2-point dogs, and that feels like just because it's Green Bay. Like it feels like they're getting a lot of respect. And maybe it's rightfully so. They've been awesome over the last few weeks since the Chiefs blew them out. I don't know. That one's gonna be fun to watch. I don't have a read on that one. I do feel like the Chiefs will win as long as Mahomes is healthy. If you're a Bills backer, I think take the line. Take the points.
yeah.
You can feel pretty comfortable about that if Mahomes is not going to play, and it's only going to just change in your favor. But I feel pretty optimistic that he's going to play.
You
The
were
way it
talking about
sounds
the
like.
two fan bases and how similar they are and how just you know crazy and just awesome the fan bases are. This just popped in my head. How cool would it be? You know how college football every once in a while does like the opening weekend of college football where they have a stadium that's split down the middle, like or between the hedges, or Georgia
Yeah.
and Florida. They need to do that with Kansas City and Buffalo, somewhere in
Wow.
between, and let those two fan bases. Man, could you imagine the brawls and the and the excitement in that stadium?
I feel like they'd all just hang out and jump through tables and eat barbecue together. like the,
Yeah, that's probably true.
it's
The
pretty
Buffalo Bills
crazy.
fans are crazy, but they're not mean. It
They're
doesn't seem
nice,
like,
and
anyways.
Kansas City
Yeah,
is too for the most part. I mean, I've seen been around a few that were not the nicest people in the world. Like I remember a few years ago, this guy got really mad about Marcus Peters kneeling for the anthem, and he almost like threatened to punch the guy sitting beside me. And I was like, "Whoa, this guy was just saying something to me. I wasn't. Nobody's agreeing or disagreeing or saying really making a big opinion about it." But the guy said something like, "Fans here don't like Marcus Peters because he took a knee for the anthem." And a guy turns around and starts yelling at him, like screaming, cussing at him, like ready to fight. I'm like, "Man, this does not go well. I pick a different seat. I just want to enjoy the game." But
yep.
it's okay. It happens.
It always happens.
I'm looking forward to both of those games this weekend. I do feel like the Chiefs will end up in the Super Bowl, but I have no feel for that Bucks Packers game.
Me either. I don't. I'm not betting on either one of them. I lean over on both sides, but I feel like Vegas is ready for people to bet the over, so
Sure.
I'm a little nervous about that too.
Yep. I think the Chiefs Browns game was headed over before Mahomes was hurt.
Yeah,
I felt pretty good about that over. I had the team total for the Chiefs at 32.5, I believe, and I felt good about that total until Mahomes went down. Let's move on to the NBA and talk about our beloved Grizzlies, who are now have their next 3 games postponed. What's your thought on this?
so I put this. If I'm sure everybody knows that's going to watch this. I made a Facebook page and I posted a little something on the Facebook page earlier today, but I don't really understand the contract tracing that the NBA is using, and it seems like that they're using a new approach with the Grizzlies, and this is going to be the new approach moving forward. Just kind of looking at Adrian Wojnarowski's tweets and listening to some guys on radio today. But it sounds like if you have a positive test, it seems like you're probably going to be out a week. Like they're going to postpone your games for a week and make sure that there's nobody testing positive. You get that one guy tested negative and back into the fold or whatever it is. But it just kind of stinks that we're the first team and we're getting on a
Yep.
roll. We've won 5 in a row, 4 very winnable games coming up. I mean, you could have foreseen us going 3-1, and
Yeah, 4-0 maybe.
yeah, especially the Blazers without McCollum. He's a Grizz
Mm-hmm.
killer. But you could have seen us making a little run, and heck, we could have been up to like the 5 seed in the West. And I know it's still early, but we're really on a roll. And I know people are taking the other approach of, well, this is just 4 games that you don't have to miss Justice and Jaron, and maybe they'll make them up or whatever. Maybe they're back by the time we play again. But it just stinks. Like I was pumped up to settle in at 9 o'clock last night. I got a little extra sleep the night before, ready for this West Coast trip,
I'm right
and
there with you.
I don't know. It's such a bummer. I was really looking forward to it, and I don't know. I think the NBA's contract tracing. I probably need to look at it to understand it more, but it doesn't seem like really that anybody understands it, from what I gather.
It seems like the NBA has taken kind of a similar approach to Major League Baseball, and the Grizzlies, in effect, are what the Marlins were at the beginning of the season. If you remember, things felt kind of loose in the beginning with Major League Baseball, and then the Marlins were shut down for quite some time. I think they went about 2 weeks. Once it hit them, they had an outbreak. It doesn't appear that the Grizzlies have an outbreak, but it seems like it's like kind of trial and error,
Yeah,
a little bit. And we've seen the error, and I think they're going to play it a little more cautious now, tighten the belt a little bit. But if you remember, the Marlins had to have a lot of games, a lot of doubleheaders, a lot of 7 inning doubleheaders played, and I think that if that takes a toll. They still made the playoffs and beat my Cubs in the playoffs, but I think that still takes a toll on a team to have that many games rescheduled.
yeah,
Like it just means the second half of your season is going to be a little more stressful. And this team definitely would have much rather had those games played right now rather than having them played later. Like you mentioned, we're rolling, absolutely
yeah.
rolling. Ja has been on fire. Kyle Anderson's playing some of his best ball. The bench is playing well. Even
Our
with
defense
Jonas
is
out,
really good.
Xavier Tillman and Desmond Bain, the Grizzlies. Let's just for a second, the drafts, these last two drafts, Ja, Brandon, Desmond Bain, and Xavier Tillman, all seem to be very strong role players or better in Ja's case. And Brandon Clark is an elite role player,
Hmm.
and seeing Tillman and Bain step into roles right away is really, really, really heartening for the future, knowing what the
Yeah.
Grizzlies how they draft, which is such a change in narrative. How
Take a
many
look at
consecutive years did we bash the draft
oh,
classes of the Grizzlies?
it's like 5 or 6 years.
Oh, it's more than that. This is
I
probably
mean,
10.
yeah. I mean,
Like
for
I think our
sure.
best draft pick for the 10 years prior to Jaren Jackson was Darrell Arthur.
OJ Mayo and Darrell Arthur probably.
Yeah, and OJ Mayo. It's like, would you call that a success considering where he was drafted? Like Darrell Arthur, doing what he did where he's drafted is probably a success. And OJ Mayo, yeah, probably the best player we took. But holy cow, man! Like from Hashim to beat onward, like our draft classes were
Terrible.
barren. Nothing. Like
Terrible.
Damari Carroll, Sam Young. Like nothing against Damari Carroll. We didn't even know he was good. Kyle Lowry,
Yeah.
we drafted him and knew he was good and traded him away for
Yeah.
nothing.
I will say I posted a video on our Facebook page about Kevin O'Connor from The Ringer did kind of a breakdown of the young core of the Grizzlies, and it's about 10 minutes long. But he breaks down John Moran for a few minutes, but he really gets into Desmond Bain, Xavier Tillman, Brandon Clark. Brandon Clark's got to fix his shot; he's got a really bad hitch in it, but it's a really good breakdown and kind of gets into Tyus Jones and some other guys a little bit. But just how these guys play and not being afraid to take a 4 year college player. That's been a thing where
Yeah,
you don't take
smart.
4 year college players anymore. And it's now I'm like, why is this a thing? These guys are coming in helping you right away. Yeah, maybe they're only good for 9 years instead of 13. But if you get 9 years out of a really good role player, then I think you've succeeded. And I'd rather have that than like you're saying, Hashim Thabit, who's all upside, and take him at number two, and you end up getting nothing out of him.
Yeah, I really like what they're doing. I think it's nice, and I feel like once the media and other teams start complimenting what you're doing, it's pretty cool. The Arizona Diamondbacks have had a similar approach where it's almost like instead of it's a rebuild on the fly, where it's a competitive rebuild instead of a full, tear down. We're gonna suck and tank. It's a rebuild on the fly. We got Ja, we got Jaren, we got two really awesome players to roll forward with, and we're going to surround them with very good role players.
Smart
And
role players.
it's really cool these guys are role players right away. I think that was one of the things we loved about Desmond Bain coming out was that this guy knows how to adapt to a role. He knows how to do his job, which I think is really, really important for a young player. These guys, man, they're making a huge difference right off the bat. Speaking of big changes, talking about the role that Desmond Bain and Tillman are going to play and how this is new, the change in draft class, the fortune that we had, changes in Brooklyn. If you hadn't heard, This guy named James Harden. He's got a beard, scores a lot of points, eats
Little
a lot of
chubby.
food. Yeah, he's got a belly kind of like mine. Maybe not as big as mine, but
He needs to get on this
he
keto
he
diet.
he
15
got a
pounds
belly.
down, baby.
He got a belly. He kind of yeah. He's 15 pounds. That's impressive, man. Well,
Getting there.
James Harden might need to get on your diet. You might need to get on your level with that thing. What are your thoughts on the Harden trade and the Brooklyn
So
Nets going forward?
I watched the game last night, and it was the first game where all three are back. And last night's not going to be a tell of what it's going to be for the rest of the year. Kyrie's first game back, so it's going to look totally different by the time we get to the playoffs. And I think they're still going to be really good. But they had two people score over 30 last night. I think KD and Kyrie went for over 30 last night, and still lost to the Cavs, who I know are 7-7, but that is not a good team.
Nope.
I do like their upside though with Sexton, and you got Jared Allen in there, so I do like where they're headed. But uh, I don't know, man. I don't see how it works, especially when things go bad, because you got three guys that can handle adversity well. We've seen it with Kevin Durant. He makes burner accounts on Twitter and tries to defend himself. You got Kyrie Irving, who even when it goes good, can't stand it, can't stand being in the shadow of LeBron and wants out. And then you got Harden, who demanded all this stuff in Houston, and when it went bad, he was like, "Get me out. I don't want to be here."
Yeah, he
And
got everything he
so,
wanted in Houston too. By the way.
yeah, he damaged that franchise. Like they
Yep.
got a long way to come back from him doing what he's done and demanding what, getting Russell Westbrook, getting Chris Paul, trading. I mean, so do I think they'll be there probably in the Eastern Conference Championship or close to it? Yeah, most likely, because if you have three of the top 10 to 15 players in the league, you're going to be good. You'll just be able to out talent other teams. But I don't think it's going to go as well. And I don't think this is a Miami Heat situation. Chris
No.
Bosh was willing to take a back seat. This isn't a Golden State situation where Steph Curry and Klay Thompson are willing to share the spotlight. This is three guys who want all of the spotlight. It's going to be it's going to be fun. There's going to be a lot of drama involved with it.
Isn't it crazy to think that Kevin Durant is probably the most likely to take the role of like role player? And
Which
I
is
feel like
just
it's probably because of the stage of his career.
the
Even though
greatest scorer in NBA history has to
he's
take a
still
back seat.
awesome. Yeah,
Yeah.
but man, I don't know. I don't know. I said last week when we were talking about it that I think that they might actually be worse with Harden. I don't know that I necessarily feel that. That's probably just a gut reaction. But I don't think they're that much better. I think the
No.
role players. I was watching the game Monday night. I did not get to watch the game against Cleveland last night.
The
I watched
Colin
the game
Sexton game.
exactly. I did not get to watch the game Monday night when they beat the Bucks. It's an impressive win, a very very impressive win. I got to watch some of that one. I didn't get to watch the Cleveland one. But in watching that game, there were at least three guys on the floor who I hadn't heard of. I'm like, dude, I'm a pretty diehard sports fan. If I haven't heard of you, it's because you're not good. Okay?
Yeah.
Nets
You
players,
have done
if I
nothing
haven't
so
heard
far.
of you haven't done anything. I'm like, who is Perry? Who is
Yeah.
that guy? I don't know I should probably know who these guys are.
They're relying on Jeff Green as a starting center. That tells you everything you're going to need to know.
I did enjoy listening to DeAndre Jordan on the mic. It made me like him, and then they had Draymond Green in the nightcap on the mic. I was like, okay, they're just trying to make me like guys I don't like. That's all they're trying to do here.
Draymond mic'd up is a gold mine for
Pretty
the
great.
NBA that they need to take advantage of.
He was. What did he say? He said, "I got you posted up on my Gasol. I like that
I
for
like
you.
that.
I like that for you." Yeah, it feels like that. Have you seen
Poor
Schitt's
Mark.
Creek? Have you seen the show Schitt's Creek?
Uh,
One of the things they say in there
I
is,
heard it's
"I love
great.
that journey for me. I love this journey for me," and that's all I could hear was "I love that journey for you, James Wiseman. I love
You
that
need to
journey for you."
you need to make one of those little gifs or whatever and put Draymond's face on whoever from Schitt's Creek is and post it. Get
That's
in the
all I
gift
could hear.
game.
I love this journey for me. That's all I could hear. But in all seriousness, they're the new villains of the NBA. I want them to lose so bad. I
Yeah.
want them to lose so bad. I want it to implode because I just want to enjoy the drama and sit here and sip my tea and watch the whole house burn down, basically.
They're not going to be able to play defense.
No, man, like you see the notes. I put the defense will suck. There's no way They can
They're
play
going to have to
defense
score 125 to 130 to win games. And
minimum.
how often can you do that?
Well, they three combined for 96 last night. I know it was two overtimes, but still, they come. It's. I said it to Anna. I was like, "Hey, listen to this. Listen to this. Harden scored whatever he scored. It was like 30. It was like 30, 30, and 20 something. They scored like 96 points. And I was like, "What was the score of the game?" It's like they lost to Cleveland. With
But
this,
real quick on that, I won't spend much time. Colin Sexton last night,
I love that
I think
guy.
he scored like 20 something straight, 15 or 16 in the second overtime. Dude, he was coming down and just pulling threes. I didn't think he could shoot. Like he's always been a get to the rim guy. That was the most fun I've had watching a game outside of a Grizzlies game. Since I mean, I don't know the last time I had that much fun. They call him Young Bull. He was not afraid of Kyrie Irving, Kevin Durant, any of them. He was ready for it, and it was cool to see Tarian Prince and Jared Allen kind of get. It was the revenge game for them. So
Yeah,
that was the most fun I've had watching a game. Like I find myself watching freaking Colin Sexton go off, but it was entertaining as hell.
I do love Jared Allen too. I think he's a legit, a really really good
Yeah,
NBA player. Um, I'm not gonna make a snap judgment on Brooklyn as a team because I think one of the things to think about is they have not practiced one time together. I don't think James
yeah.
Harden has had a practice with the team since he got there. And I know practice is not super, you know, it's not the most important thing. I think playing together on the court, I guess practice too, but getting that
But I
chemistry
think with a
down.
new coach and that many new pieces, I do think that there is some importance to it.
Yeah, it's going to take them a while. I think. I think it might be
Yeah.
one of those things we're talking February, late February, early March that they're starting to kind of hit their stride. I will say Harden and Durant have a chemistry already kind of built together. They seem to really get along well. I'll be interested to see how Harden and Kyrie get along. I think those two guys, man. I just think they're
I think
both
Durant and Kyrie
nutcases.
too, because they haven't played together really at all. Like
I
they got
think
to figure it
Durant can.
out.
We've seen him at least get along with guys. I mean, at least I think he was
Kyrie's a
okay
different cat on
accepting
the
a.
court.
Oh my gosh, though.
It's just a different deal with him.
I could see Durant stepping up and kind of being the leader of everything. Uh, Kyrie's a weirdo, man. He's a freaking weirdo. That's all I can say about that. He's got cool shoes, but he's a freaking weirdo. You said on here, did the Rockets get the right deal? What's your thought on that?
So again, I don't know. You don't know what it's going to be down the road. I think they went for we have to reload our draft picks, and we got to get our number
Mm-hmm.
ones back because they traded all of them for Chris Paul and then for Russell Westbrook, trading Chris Paul for Russell Westbrook, which is just crazy that how that went down. But uh, so maybe they did take the right deal for getting all those picks back. But you're going to have late 20 picks, especially early on. Like, are you really going to have that many good picks? And if they really had Ben Simmons on the table, I think in the NBA you take the best player available at
Yep.
any time, whether it's in the draft, whether it's in free agency, whether it's in a trade. The great players win you games, and I think Ben Simmons, he's not a superstar, but I think he's a great player.
Yeah.
And Oladipo's probably gone after this year. I don't see him sticking around. I think he wants to win somewhere, and he hadn't
He's gonna
really
be a
won
Grizzly.
anywhere. Yeah, I mean he could, but I just think you take the best player that's on the table, and they didn't do that.
If Ben Simmons was really on the table, I think they should have taken that deal. Um, I don't know that it was actually on the table. I
Yeah, that's the thing.
am not sure that it was. I think Harden's trade value went way down when he started opening his mouth a little more, and it became a we're just going to take the best deal we can get right now kind of thing.
Yeah,
You know, I don't know. They didn't get the same kind of deal that New Orleans got for Anthony Davis. They loaded up and became you know, they may have actually gotten better without Anthony Davis, which is kind of insane. You did not feel that way with, it did not. It definitely did not feel that way with Houston.
yeah,
Like
yeah.
it doesn't feel like there's a lot of hope. I know Christian Wood's awesome, but it doesn't feel like there's a lot of hope for that franchise going forward. They may still sneak up. They could, play well this season with Oladipo and Cousins and Wall and Wood and some other, meh role players, Eric Gordon, PJ Tucker. They could sneak into the playoffs. It's possible, but I just think in a
But
loaded
how
Western
has
Conference, it's going to be very difficult.
how our division has changed? I looked at the standings today. We're leading our division. I mean, you look at that division. Dallas has Luca, but you don't know about Porzingis. And so I was looking at that division. I'm like, we have a real chance to be first in that division this year, which we've never done.
I don't
The
think we've
one
won
year
that
we had a
division
chance, the
ever.
Spurs beat it. When we were number two in the conference, I think it was like 2014 or 15. We were number two the whole year behind Golden State. Late in the year, I think we had a couple injuries and we fell off, and San Antonio ended up winning the division again. But
Yeah.
I'm looking at them like I'm not afraid of Dallas. New
Nope.
Orleans can't play defense. Zion's
Nope.
bad defensively, and their spacing's
Turnstile.
terrible. Houston just fell off. I don't think they're going to be very good. I mean, they have a chance to, but I don't think they're going to be able to win. I just don't think those players they have are winners right now. And I don't know. San Antonio will be there, but there's a real chance we could win that division, which is kind of
It's
fun
possible.
to
I think San
hope
Antonio is
for.
still going to be. I mean, I think you got a lot of okay teams. Like I think
Yeah,
the teams. It wouldn't shock me if the difference between first and last place is 3 or 4 games.
a lot of
Yeah.
teams hovering 500 this year.
I think Houston. A lot of people think, oh, Harden's gone. They're going to be terrible. All I'm trying to say is they're not going to be awful right now. They're not going to be
No, no, no,
good,
no,
but they're not going to be the worst team in the league like a lot of people are thinking they were going to be.
no, absolutely not.
You wanted to ask about Oladipo and Lavert for the Pacers. All right, you know I'm kind of a Pacers homer. Like I don't know
Yeah,
why. I kind of made that call early on. I thought that their win total, which I believe was at 37.5, was ridiculously low. When I looked at it, I was like, this is going to be 42, 43 and a half. 30, are you kidding me? 37, 39, whatever it was. I was like, hammer it. You could have given me 4 more games and I would have hammered it. I like Lavert more than Oladipo. And I like Victor Oladipo a lot. I just think Caris Lavert has that next level kind of potential. I think he could end up being a pretty significant player, an all-star potentially for the Pacers. And you pair him with Sabonis, pair him with Miles Turner. Man, aren't the Pacers so glad they didn't get rid of him and send him to Boston?
yeah.
That guy is
He has
incredible.
completely changed his game. Like his improvement over the last 3 years is incredible.
And then you think
But
about Brogdon, the step that he's made from being just a basic role player on those Bucks teams. He was a very good role player, obviously a very very good role player. But he's become like a top half of the NBA point guard, where he was probably closer to the bottom fifth of it.
that's a whole nother conversation. But do you think the Bucks regret Middleton over him, like taking Middleton
No,
over Brogdon? I think
no, I think
Middleton's a
that
really good scorer, but I think that's what they need is somebody like Brogdon. Now they got Drew Holiday, so it's a different dynamic. Over the past 2 years, I think Brogdon could have been a big difference maker for them. But I mean, that's getting off on another tangent. But
it
uh,
is. Tangents are fine. They're encouraged. It's. I think they made the right call going with Middleton. Uh, I probably would have done what I could to try to re-sign Brogdon too, though.
yeah,
I
you
think it
could have
was
a
more
real
like
big three homegrown there with those three,
yeah, and
like
Giannis
legit,
liked him too, which I think matters.
and
But
could have
it
put
does.
anybody around him.
I think he would have made a difference. I don't know if it was bigger difference than Middleton. They need that other scorer. Middleton's such a great scorer. He's
Yeah,
so underrated as a scorer, and he's a good defender too. Um, I definitely like Levert for the Pacers. If as long as he can come back healthy, he's going to be awesome.
yeah,
I just think that guy has got a next level. He's such a good scorer,
yeah.
and it makes me wonder: are they going to move on from Warren at some point? I don't know. It just that team looks good, and that bench is good with the Holiday brothers coming off of it when they're whole. When they get Warren and Levert back, man, they're gonna be really good. I think they're a legit contender in the East. It
Yeah.
would not shock me if a team, like Miami did it last year because it's just a good team. They know how to play together. It wouldn't shock me if a team with some continuity like that beats the Bucks or beats the Nets. Like it just
It,
would not completely throw me off. That team has got something, man. They just got.
yeah.
It probably won't happen. Like I wouldn't bet on it unless the odds were crazy, but I think they need to be taken seriously. That's all. That's all that I'll say. They need to be taken seriously. I wouldn't tell you they're the first or the second best team in the East, but we can have a pretty good argument about them being third and saying if
Yeah.
you're third, you can beat the first or second best team. It's possible.
I would probably take Levert over Oladipo, especially after some of the stuff they were saying Oladipo was saying on the court last year, like get me
Yeah.
out of here.
Hmm.
And this is all not counting the injury or the kidney stuff with Levert. Like I'm just saying in a vacuum, these two players. I just wonder if Levert, like in the bubble, he proved he was a scorer, but that's when he was getting all the touches. And then when Durant and Kyrie were kind of in and out of the lineup, again scoring a lot. Like we saw him against the Grizzlies, just light us up. And I wonder if it's one of those things like you hear people say that somebody's got to score 20, and I don't think that's him, but
No.
you don't know until you know. And I think they had a good thing going with Oladipo, but I see their point in like, okay, here's our ceiling with Oladipo, but if Lavert can build on where he is now, like our ceiling raises tremendously. So as Michael Jordan would say, the ceiling or the sky is the floor or the ceiling is the floor, whatever he said.
Yeah.
No, their ceiling is like it raises it tremendously
Yeah.
with Lavert. I think if he is
I
that
think so.
score, and I think T.J. Warren again, it's kind of the same thing. I think both of those are in the same boat as with each other. Like they were awesome in the bubble, but if they can take that and transition into being consistent 15 to 20 point scores, like they're the real deal. Because Sabonis, I think, is awesome. He reminds me of Jokic a lot. He's
Dude,
developing
I love that guy.
into a younger Joker.
He is one of my favorite players in the NBA just to
Yeah,
watch. He's so good, man. He's
he's so
just so
physical too. Like he just
yeah.
God, he's fun to watch.
And he's not physically imposing either. It's just his style that works. It's
Yeah,
you can't fully explain it other than this dude is just incredibly skilled and like I'm so who would have thought that when Oladipo goes there, when that Oladipo trade, the Paul George trade that got them Oladipo and Sabonis, when that goes down,
Sabonis ends up being
you
better.
think of you think of Oladipo as being the guy, the big haul for Indiana, but it's obviously Sabonis. That guy is
Yeah,
incredible. I love watching him play.
me
So
too.
moving on to the opposite of loving watching them play, let's talk about the Tigers. I'm going to let you talk about it because our mom taught me if you don't have anything nice to say, don't say anything. So I'm going to let you talk about the Tigers, man. Go ahead.
I'm a diehard and I'll watch them here in 45 minutes against Wichita State, and I have no expectation. They're favored again tonight, which I don't understand. I don't know why we're getting they're the books like them for some reason.
I don't
I don't
know.
know I don't know what it is. But we lost to Tulsa again the other night. They did look better, I thought, early in the game. And then the second half, they just couldn't score again. The last 5 minutes, I think we scored like 4 points. But here's my issue, and I'm not here to bury Penny because I said this when he got hired. I didn't want him to get hired because everybody is hired to be fired, and the same thing's going to happen to him that happens to everybody else, and he's going to be ran out of town. But if we're giving him a pass for how he's developing these players and using his talent, Pastner took us to 5 straight NCAA tournaments. We were competitive in most games. Like besides Oklahoma State and maybe a couple others, like a game to Tennessee here or there, like we were in every game we played for the most part. Besides UConn, and well, no, that was Tubby, but like he was competitive, and we had talent, and yeah, we had people leave eventually, but if we're not going to give Pastner a pass when he was going to the tournament, we can't give Penny a pass. We just extended him. I think there's going to be a mass exodus from the program this year. Like DJ Jeffries, why the hell would he come back? He's averaging like 6 points a game over the last few games. Like Landers Nolly, there's some rumor that maybe the problem's him because they said Virginia Tech's better this year without him, and that he's kind of got a selfish attitude. I don't know. That's rumor, but it's ugly. It's really really ugly, and I hate it for Penny because I don't want him. He's Memphis's favorite son. Like he really is. Like I know that's a cliche, but like
It's
he
true.
really is. He grew up, was awesome at Memphis State. Like he always gave back. Him taking the job, he didn't have to take this job. I think ego made him take it, but like he took a pay, like $1 million a year. But at some point, like just having the enthusiasm, like you've lost the enthusiasm. You went to Memphis, you went to the Final Four in '08. Like you're a big Memphis fan. You're like me, but eventually you lose fans. And I know we don't have fans in the stands this year, but man, I'd hate to see what next year looks like, especially if you don't get some of these guys back and lose Cisse, you lose Boogie, which Boogie's been terrible this year. But you start losing a lot of these players to transfer. We're in the same boat as Passner, and I think you may have to start looking elsewhere unless Penny, looks inward and starts hiring an assistant coach that can bench coach and turn this thing around.
Well, I'm going to break Mama's rule. She said, don't say anything nice. Don't say anything if you ain't got nothing nice to say. I ain't got nothing nice to say, but we're on a show where I'm supposed to talk, so I'm going to talk a little bit, I guess. I did not watch the Tulsa game. I don't. I didn't even know they were playing tonight. I don't care. I don't care. I have no interest. I had all the interest in the world when Penny was hired. I'll kind of follow from afar, but I don't want to invest my time in watching a product that I think is less than the quality that we deserve as Memphis fans. I want to see things improve, but I hate the style of play they have. I can't stand watching, dribble, 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 dribble. It's the same reason we don't like watching James Harden in the NBA. Dribble, 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 dribble. I don't want to see it. It's not an enjoyable product to watch, and ultimately, that is what sports are here to do, is entertain us, and I am not entertained by the product that is on the floor. I will continue to support them. I want them to do well. I root for them to do well. It's not like I'm rooting against them or I want Penny to fail or anything. I want him to be successful, probably more than I've ever wanted any coach at Memphis to be successful. And I hope that he is. And if he, as soon as there's something worth watching, I'll be watching. But I don't want to sit there and watch
and be miserable.
Product. Yeah, it's like I end up mad. I end up,
Yeah.
anyone like me who's I guess a former coach and knows something about basketball, you spend most of your game yelling at the TV trying to instruct the players through the television
Pass the
screen
ball.
what they should do. Pass,
Yeah.
boy, pass, please. You have
Yeah.
teammates, use them. I end up feeling so incredibly frustrated watching those teams. And you mentioned Landers Nolly being a selfish player. I don't know anything about the kid other than his name is Landers Nolly. And then I watch him play. Selfish seems like the kind of style of play that he has, but I could say the same thing about at least three other guys on the team.
Yeah.
I don't know that it's Penny. There's a couple things that I wanted to say. One was that I think it's time you don't just recruit the best players and teach them. And sometimes you have to recruit to a system. So figure
And it
out
seems
what
like he's
works.
doing that with this next recruiting class, which is actually kind of encouraging.
I hope so. I think that's what you have to do is recruit role players. Everybody on our team thinks they have the role of being the star, and they're not. I think Lomax is probably the only one on the team who's probably comfortable in a role. Maybe Lance Thomas, but who cares? He's Lance Thomas.
CDR, Antonio Anderson, Robert Dozier, and Joey Dorsey, those guys weren't stars in high school. Yeah, they were top 50 to 75 products, but they weren't the top 10 guys.
No, they knew how to play their
And you
roles.
brought that in to round it out.
I was going to say this. There's other thing about I wanted to say. Well, why? The question I guess you were asking was why does Penny get a pass and not Passner? It's because of who they replaced. Passner replaced Cal after the highest heights our program had ever seen. So I think people expected us to get back to that.
Yep.
Penny replaced Tubby, who was not liked by anyone in the city. And not disliked either, but everybody was fed up at that point with him. Completely fed up. And I think people are happy with being relevant and having positive news. Even if it's just recruiting news. I think people are happier now than they were with Tubby. There's hope. And I think there's still some hope for the future. I think you can hope that Penny will figure out how to coach at the college level. I'm not going to write him off. But I'm not going to wait. I'm not going to sit here and wait and watch every game in hopes they turn it around. Wait for the play that turns it around. When they turn it around, I'll be back on board. But right now, like I said, I didn't know they were playing tonight, and I'm fine continuing to be that way. They haven't lost a fan. They've just, if I'm going to invest right now, I feel very invested in the Grizzlies. I feel very invested in my Kansas City Chiefs. I feel invested in those teams, and if I'm going to invest, you got to give me something to watch that I want to watch. Any more thoughts on the Tigers?
Just quick, I think Memphis fans have, because I do want Penny to succeed, and I think he can succeed. Look at Shaka Smart at Texas. I know he proved it at VCU, but look at what he did at Texas. He was very average. I think this is his fifth year, his first 4 years, and now he's got a top 5 program, and he's got the guys that he needs in his system to succeed.
Yeah.
And I think when he first got to Texas, he tried to do what Penny's done: take the best talent possible and figure it out. And there's a lot of times you get these guys in that are top 10, 15 players. They want the ball. They want to shoot the ball. They want to be the guy. And so get your guys in. Look at Shaka. Don't give up on it yet. It is just frustrating because you do see talent out there. Individually, there's talent. You just want to see them put it together. But I think we can get it turned around in the next couple of years. I'm hopeful that it'll happen.
Yeah, I think Memphis, the athletic department and fans need to give him time. If this is year 3, you thought it was going to be a lot better. I think you need to give him till year 5 minimum.
And especially in a year like this.
Exactly. This year should be completely scrapped, I think, in terms of expectation. It won't be, but I feel like it should be. I think it takes till year 5 or year 6 to figure out if Penny can really do this or not. If he can recruit some guys to fit a system that he likes to run, find what you're good at, and work from there. I think he can
Or
do
get a
it.
coach in there that can teach you a system that can be good.
Let's not fire him just yet. Now, speaking of fired coaches, Tennessee finally pulled that
Look at
plug.
that
Woo!
transition.
Wee!
My boy spitting
Ah!
flames.
You know that. Yeah, yeah. I want that little air horn sound. You know what I'm talking about? That. Never mind. I'm just sorry. You ruined my segue, dude. Come on, man. All right, Jeremy Pruitt sucks. Tennessee fired him. Do you think Tennessee is still simple news? Everybody knows that though. Do you think Tennessee is still a top program?
Uh, I think if you ask people, because we grew up around a lot of Tennessee fans,
Are
they
you
would
ready for
think
my
they're like,
answer?
yeah, they're like,
No.
no, they're not. But if you ask our friends that are Tennessee fans, they're still a top 15 program in good old Rocky Top. And if you ask our cousin Eric, he still thinks they're a top 15 program. I don't know. Maybe he doesn't anymore. I think he's kind of frustrated with them. But no, to answer your question,
No.
no. Uh,
No. They're not. Um, I think they still envision themselves. They have the money to be. I will say they have the
I think they
money,
can
the
be.
stadium, and the fan base to be.
Oh, yeah.
But as of now, no. And I honestly think that if they have a coach that's successful there, there's no guarantee that he doesn't leave to go somewhere else. Like there's still better jobs in Tennessee. I think they are a top 15 program in the SEC. I just want to throw that
15
out
out of
there.
14.
Yeah, they're 15 out of 14. Um,
Maybe they can get to Vandy's level one day.
maybe. You know, I just started thinking about it though, I see these list of coaches on there, and I don't. I think Chadwell from Coastal Carolina would be the best hire they can get, but man, I don't know about any of these guys to make a decision. I think Tennessee fans have got to be patient with the next hire and know that and change the expectation a little bit. Because if you look around, if you look at the seasons outside of that really great run at the end of the '90s with Peyton and then T. Martin to follow when they actually won the title, and then a few years after, it hasn't been much other than that, and it wasn't much before then either. I think the expectation in a normal 12 game season needs to be 8-4. I think you're somewhere between. They're in a envision themselves being in the class of probably not Alabama, but being in the Auburn, the LSU, the Georgia, and Florida class. But I think you're beneath that. You're obviously above the South Carolina class.
I think
You're
right now
above.
they're with Kentucky. Like
I think they're
Kentucky's a good
above.
program.
Well, I
As a
think they're
program,
above.
they are.
If you think tradition, yeah, I think current
Yeah.
status of the program, they're probably with Kentucky. But I think tradition wise, they're probably up around. You know, I think they're a,
A&M.
a, a little above South. Yeah, they're probably with A&M. They're a little above South Carolina, a little above Kentucky and Vandy. Above the Ole Miss and Mississippi State, above Arkansas.
They should be third in their division every year. And I think every once in a while, when everything clicks right, they should win their division. I think the parallels between Memphis basketball and Tennessee football are so similar in
Yep.
program tradition and where they should be. But you can't expect to win national championships every year. Like it's not going to happen unless you get a Nick Saban or Urban Meyer or something like that, which you're not going to get.
Nope.
And you're like I posted or I put on our notes like the top six coaches right now. You got Billy Napier, Jamie Chadwell, Kevin Steele, Tom Herman, Hugh Freeze, and Gus Malzahn. Like all those guys, I know most retreads are failures at old jobs, but Billy Napier, I mean, he's good at Louisiana Lafayette, and Chadwell has one good year at Coastal Carolina. But outside of that, like I don't know who you go after. I think Tom Herman would probably be who I'd go with because
Golly, man.
I
Just
think the dynamics at Texas football make it hard to win. Like they haven't been good since Vince Young was there, and that Vince Young carried them to be that good. Like I mean, I know they had one other good year with Colt McCoy, but I don't know. Like Hugh Freeze, they're not going to hire him with all the other stuff that happened at Ole Miss, and they're going to get hit by the NCAA. Gus Malzahn, I don't think he's going to Tennessee. Like I just don't see that happening. I think he'll take a year off and probably land somewhere at a better job than Tennessee. But I don't know. Like, do you go for another up and coming or whatever? Like they tried with Butch, they tried with Derek Dooley, Plaid Pants Dooley, and uh, and Jeremy Pruitt, who I didn't even know who he was before he got hired at Tennessee. Like you've taken these reaches like maybe go get somebody that can put some stability. And they made a good hire today with their AD from Central Florida.
Yeah.
That came across this afternoon. So maybe they're on
Danny
the right
White, right?
track. But yeah,
Yeah,
but
I like that. The UCF's if you're going to go after somebody from that level. I think
yeah,
UCF has been a model for success. Like UCF, Memphis, SMU, Boise, are names that Cincinnati from that level. They're names from that level that you consider to be the upper crust of that, and I think you want to see if he can translate that to the big boy level, the big boy table. One thing I was thinking about with Danny White was who he hired. And I know he hired, I believe he hired Scott Frost at
mm-hmm.
UCF. I believe
Heupel.
I know he hired Heupel, but he also hired Johnny Dawkins with the basketball program, who's proven to be pretty good so far. I believe he hired the guy when he was at Buffalo before UCF. Did he hire the guy that's at Buffalo right now? I believe he
I don't
did. And
I
he's
don't know if he hired
always
the guy
up
at Buffalo
for
right now, but he hired one of the brothers from Duke, basketball player. Anyways, they're
Hurley.
coaching at
Hurley.
Hurley.
Yeah,
I was going to
he
blank
hired
on it,
Danny
but he hired
Bobby
him.
Hurley. Yeah,
But
so
yeah,
like
he's
he's
good.
nailed his hires in the two big sports. So and I do think they may end up having to replace Rick Barnes at some point too. I don't think Tennessee's a destination basketball job by any means. Sorry for any Tennessee fans who are listening or watching. Um,
There's not many Tennessee basketball fans out there. They want to
do they
pretend
even
like they
exist?
are. They have a good year and they're like, oh, we've been fans forever.
I tell you what though, being in I can't, Thompson Bowling was a really cool experience in college. They do
Even
get
when they put
super
you in the
loud in there.
rafters.
They did put us in the rafters. My nose was bleeding the whole time I was up there, but it was fun.
Yeah,
Yeah, it was,
Tennessee football. I hate. I messed with all our Tennessee football friends, and I went to Austin P. And everybody that goes to Austin P is Tennessee fans, and everybody that lives around there. So, like, I do hate it for them. Like, it sucks. They've been down for a long time. Like, they've really had no hope for the past since Kiffin. Really, like, they've been a bad football program.
oh
So,
my gosh.
I
Hold
do
on.
hate it for them because they're miserable. But like, it is kind of fun because it is fun to say Memphis has a better football program than Tennessee.
They do. Uh, but one of the rumors that I read the other day was that Tennessee fans, there's a lot of Tennessee fans on Twitter who wanted to see if they could make a run at Lane Kiffin. I'm like, bruh, come
Really?
on. There was a
Really?
lot of it. There was some momentum, and I was encouraged to look at you know, the odds and know that he wasn't anywhere on there. But then it made me think. I'm like, there's a point when Ole Miss passes Tennessee in terms of job quality, and I think the fact that I mean, obviously there's more to it. There's a little more nuance than just Lane, would you pick Ole Miss over Tennessee? Well, he's already at Ole Miss and he's been at Tennessee, and that didn't end
And he's
well.
gonna stay there. Yeah.
Yeah, it made me wonder, like, just did Ole Miss pass Tennessee in job quality? It's possible.
I think they're
It's definitely
balancing on a
possible.
seesaw right now.
It's pretty close.
I,
It's closer than Tennessee fans would like to believe.
yeah.
And I think Tennessee still views itself as like being one of those national powers. We used to play the NCAA football game, and you had the stars for tradition.
The prestige or whatever.
Yeah, whatever it was. And you had six. And Tennessee was always up there with six, but at one point Nebraska was too.
Yeah. And I
And
think that's the best
Miami.
parallel are those two.
Yeah.
Nebraska and Tennessee. Like they both had late '90s runs. Another name I heard uh, was James Franklin, and he's at Penn State. I don't think he leaves Penn State. I think he had a lot of guys opt out this past year. I do think he's awesome, but you're not getting him away from Penn State. Like unless he's got something going on behind the scenes where he needs to get out, I don't think you're getting him. But I don't know. They're in a weird position right now, and uh, I just I don't know. I don't see them. Jeff Calkins asked on radio either this morning or yesterday morning, which team do you see being in the top 10 first or in the next 5 years? Yes or no? Tigers basketball or Tennessee football? Like which one can make it happen? And I obviously think you take Tiger basketball because in college basketball it's easier to turn around a program faster. But like Tennessee, you got people transferring. You've already lost a year recruiting this year. So next year's all recruiting. 2 years from now, you're still not good. Maybe 3 years you're making a bowl. Like they're 4 years away from maybe competing. Like
Yeah,
they got a
it's a
long road
ways
to
off.
go. They got a long road
It's
to
gonna
go.
take a while. I'll hope they turn it around because I know one thing I feel like I need to say. I give Tennessee fans a hard time. no one can question the loyalty of a Tennessee fan right now.
No.
No, it's been a dark 22 years.
I love that you said I can't question it, but let me turn this knife in your sternum a little bit more.
Twist.
Oh my God,
Guys,
yeah.
I want to look at you directly in the eyes right now and tell you, you're the champions of life. You are the
Brick by brick,
champions of
baby. Brick,
brick
brick
by
by brick.
freaking brick.
They're building
Old
those
team
bricks
of
at Arkansas
bricks.
State now.
Golly,
Oh
I think brick
man.
by brick could be the motto for Memphis basketball too. So the parallels are just endless with those two clown programs right
Oh
now.
man. The
I will,
mighty have fallen.
in all mighty, come on. The Tennessee fans, man, I want them to get something, to have some success. It's fun when they're up. I think the world is better when Tennessee fans are up at their highest point. You cannot question the loyalty of a Tennessee fan right now because it has been rough.
Hey, maybe because we got the dude from Central Florida over at Tennessee now, maybe they'll play us in football.
No,
Phil Fulmer wouldn't do it.
no, they don't want to play
Man,
us.
I do want
They
us to
don't
play
want
that
that
game.
smoke.
I want us to play that game. Ole Miss won't play us ever again, and Tennessee won't play us. I think we got Mississippi. I just want like
We
one of
got
those
Arkansas
SEC.
sometime soon. Memphis
Yeah.
does. But I think Sam Pittman's going to turn them around. Yes, sir.
Hey, I do cover part of my territory is Northwest Arkansas, so maybe I can make a customer trip when we play up there
Yes, sir.
in like 7 years, whenever it happens.
Yes, sir. Just keep it going. Ask me some more questions that I can answer that
I'm
way too.
I'm
Please.
good. I'm
No.
good. I'm good. Oh
Everybody,
man.
will you subscribe to our YouTube channel? Will you like us on Facebook? The answer: yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
Thank you, everybody, for listening. It's
Appreciate
been
it,
fun.
guys.
Bye.